In Titus 2, older women are commanded to teach what is good so they can help younger women love their husbands and children. On today's show, you'll hear from older women who will share timeless, relevant biblical wisdom and personal, profound life experiences to help answer your questions and teach what God says is good so you can be the wife and mother you were created to be. Welcome to another episode of Older Women Likewise.
Hello and welcome to Older Women Likewise. I'm Colleen Osteen. Tonight's panel will explore women in the Bible who demonstrated a deep passion for God through prayer, courage, loyalty, wisdom, and faith. Each woman's story invites personal reflection on how we too can respond to God with boldness, humility, and devotion in our own lives. The panel will talk about leadership, surrender, perseverance, and the call to share God's love with others. Our guests tonight are Dana Carrozza and Judy Dolan. Welcome. It's good to see you both again.
Great.
And Dana, I think you have some excitement going on in your house even as we speak.
Yeah, you might hear some laughter from the back, and they're not laughing at me. I'm upstairs, squirreled away in my husband's office. Because we are hosting a dinner party this evening for one of our Sacred Selections families from the Eastland congregation. He's the preacher there in Louisville. And they have, over the years, we've known them for many, many years, and they have adopted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 children. Yes. And it is such a joy and an honor to have them in our homes. God is here because he is teaching. We have Murfreesboro teens once a year for the weekend, and they do special services, classes, activities for the teens. And Scott has graciously offered to come and lead us in that for the teens. But right now, we're studying the Bible, and the Bible's in action in my kitchen right now. And those children are growing up and old enough to understand and have questions. And the love we have for each other is just immeasurable. It transcends.
Wow.
Oh, wow, that's good to hear. Judy, what's going on with you?
I can't follow that. There's no way.
I should let you go first, shouldn't I?
Sorry.
I mean, yeah, wow. So, life is good, and we're getting ready, as you know, for a trip to Europe. 4 weeks actually in Europe, and then 2 weeks on a ship coming back to America. So, that's kind of exciting, and it's kind of a celebration. It's a year early, but it's a celebration of our 60th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
So,
60.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope that there's an opportunity to maybe meet some of the Christians in Europe and like to go to services. I don't know if you'll be able to do that, but that's always such a joy.
Oh yeah. And we have that all planned with, the different congregations. Like in Prague, we happen to know of a Christian. She was in New Jersey with us originally, and then she moved there because she married a young man. As a matter of fact, it was through, I forgot to mention that to Smeltzer. They years ago had some kind of a get together for the young people. And so the two of them ended up meeting there, and that they got married, and he was from Prague. And so now she's been there. They have 3 children now, so we're going to visit her, of course, and we're going to worship there, and we're going to worship in Bern, and we're going to, we've set out the Sundays to worship. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. I hope you have a safe trip. Well, we're going to talk about women of the Bible, and we picked out some of the women and gave each of us a list, and we could explore that person, some things. How was she a leader? How was she persistent? Different questions about the different characters. Dana, do you want to take one and
Sure.
just kind of explore
Sure. I'd be most honored to. I just happened to be starting a study on Anna the prophetess, and she has been jumped over a lot. I mean, referred to a lot, but I don't think really, at least in my experience, really studied. She's in Luke 2, and it's 36, 37, 38. She's got 3 verses. But boy, those are powerful verses.
Yes.
And if you really pull it apart, it is one of the sweetest stories ever. So as it begins, we know about that she was a virgin when she got married. So in 21st century Christians, or just 21st century women, their life expectancy was 30 to 35. A lot of that had to do with them having died in childbirth. And if they didn't have that, then they lived to maybe 40, maybe 45, 50. But we're told early on she's 84. Now, how did that happen? Well, she dies. We don't know when she dies, but in the beginning, a virgin is a teenage girl. So let's just throw out the number 17. And it says she's married. So that's wonderful. She's on track for a great life. And it says that she's married 7 years, but there's no mention of a child. So in that time, you're always trying to get pregnant. That's just the way of the world. Your family can exist that way. This is the way the family unit is done. So she has year 1 comes and goes. She doesn't have a child. Year 2 comes and goes. She doesn't have a child. 3, 4. The sadness really begins. And as someone who's worked with many women who were not able to conceive, I understand that journey and that plight and how hard that can be. You're 6, no child. You're 7, no child. But then it gets worse because her husband dies. So she's got nothing. She doesn't have a child. She's alone in this world. And her only avenue of protection is to go live in the temple where they will protect her. So if we figure, let's just use this 17 number, 7 years, her husband dies. That makes her 24. And she's in the temple and she's praying and she's prophesying. And I'm sure a lot of that is encouraging people. You don't see a woman who is sitting back crying and, oh, woe is me. Look at this terrible thing. I didn't even have children. My husband died young. And usually at those young ages for men to die were like accidents because they didn't have the medical technology to save a man who's maybe building a building and falling off the scaffolding. So tragic things happened to her. Why would she even be in the Bible? Well, we look, and on the 40th day of Jesus' life here on earth, he goes with his mom and dad as a baby to the temple for purification. And we see that the verses just above it talk about Simeon and how Simeon proclaims, this is the Messiah. And this is the culmination at 84, is what we're told that Anna was when this happens. She comes into the temple a widow at 24. So 24 from 84 makes 60 years, give or take. I want to be real clear. I'm not saying that these numbers are accurate, but a long time. And she's been prophesying and talking about the Messiah. And then she gets to see him. And what a wonderful blessing God gave her that she got to see the Messiah. And I thought, when I was first reading this, I went, well, is it like in the movies where you hear this like harps and ooh, ah, and all of this? I mean, I know that there must have been a visceral reaction just because women have that type of visceral reaction, usually when it's with a baby. Mm-hmm. But to know that this is the Messiah, this is who she's been talking about, who she's been praying for. And God gives her this great gift. And we know it's a great gift or she wouldn't be in the Bible, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Reading about her. So there's something about Anna, the way she lived, the way she conducted herself, the way that she encouraged people, that God said, okay, I'm going to give you a little glimpse of heaven right here on earth. We don't know. The scripture doesn't tell us how long she lived after that. But if that was me, I would say, God, I've seen it. I'm ready to go. And she worked in that temple for 60 selfless years. And that is an unbelievable example for us as Christians in the 21st century, because we think if we have to be put out for a weekend to do anything is a lot. So I just hold on to Anna in a different way than I ever have before, and see her in a different light of what it's like to persevere for 60 years alone. She's got nobody, and she's in the temple. So I love her, love her.
Dana, would you mind if I read that scripture?
That would be great.
I wanted to remind myself, because I haven't read it in a while. Okay. This is Luke 2, verses 36 through 38. Mm-hmm. It doesn't get but a little tiny blip in the Bible, but it's packed. Mm-hmm. Okay, it says, now there was one Anna, a prophetess, the daughter of Phanuel of the tribe of Asher. She was of great age and had lived with a husband 7 years from her virginity. And this woman was a widow of about 84 years, who did not depart from the temple, but served God with fastings and prayers night and day. And coming in that instant, she gave thanks to the Lord and spoke of him to all of those who looked for the redemption of Jerusalem.
She did.
Yeah.
And she gets to see this glory that Simeon is talking about before. He's in the temple too. And she gets to view that.
Yeah. Spoke of him to all who looked for redemption. And it was like, you couldn't keep her quiet. It's sort of like the woman at the well. She goes and blabs it all over the town of Sychar.
Yes. She's so full of joy. Full of joy. And we think, a woman who doesn't have a child, that's a sad thing. Oh, a woman that doesn't have a husband too. How could you ever recover? Well, she did really well, didn't she, ladies?
She sure did.
She's a great example of what you can do on your own.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any more on her, or is that you?
Yeah, that's what I have right now.
Judy, what did you want to talk about? Which Bible woman would you like to discuss? And we can chime in as well. You don't have to go solo. Judy,
I'm talking to me, Colleen. I'm having,
Okay. Yes, Judy. You were going to talk about Mary, the sister of Martha.
I'm having a lot of difficulty.
Okay.
Mary.
Yes, Mary. We can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think if you can hear me, I think I should leave because it's very bad, the communication. I don't know what's happening, but the technology it's just not working, and I'm barely hearing anything that's happening.
Mm-hmm. So for this whole time, was it that way?
I don't know what to say.
You could try, if you can still hear me, you could try getting out and then coming back in and see if it fixes it.
Yeah.
I would try that. Okay. Here's one I wanted to talk about, Dana. I just taught a lesson on Ruth, and this is for the book of Ruth, obviously. Mm-hmm. Ruth was a woman who was from Moab, and she was living there when Naomi and her husband Elimelech and her two sons Mahlon and Chilion moved there. They had lived in Bethlehem, and they moved to Moab because of famine. So they were in bad shape. They moved because they were looking for food. And while they were there, the boys married two Moabite women and one was Orpah and one was Ruth. Well, their fortune went sour, and they were there a total of about 10 years, but somewhere in there, first the husband died, the father, husband and father, Naomi's husband, Elimelech, dies. And then after the boys are married, they both die, leaving Naomi, Orpah, and Ruth to fend for themselves. And Naomi says, I gotta go back. I'm gonna go back to Bethlehem. She says, you girls, you stay here. You go back to your home. And she even says, go back to your idols.
Right.
Because they would have been idol worshipers. And Orpah really doesn't want to do that, but Naomi says, no, go. And so Orpah says, okay, I'll go. But Ruth just won't do it. Ruth is determined. And even it wasn't like Naomi was saying, come on, we can do this. We can be strong together. You know, I want you to come with me. No, Naomi was like, no, don't come with me. Go back to your gods. And Ruth says, no, I am going to stay with you. And Dana, could you find in Ruth where she gives her little, where she says, I won't forsake you. Can you find that real quick for me? Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I keep talking, but
entreat me not to leave thee.
Yes. Yeah. You probably have that memorized.
Yeah.
Dana's going to read that in just a second, but Ruth, you let me know when you have it. Ruth is just determined to stay with Naomi. And it isn't even as though, it doesn't seem like she's trying to get anything out of it other than she's just devoted to Naomi. She doesn't necessarily know what she's walking into, but she wants to go so badly. Did you find it, Dana?
Well, I'm going to get there. Just give me a second.
Okay.
But I can say it for you if you want.
Yeah, say it. This will be good.
Entreat me not to leave thee, nor depart from following after thee. For whether thou goest, I go, and whether thou lodgest, I lodge. And thy people shall be my people, and thy God, my God.
Oh, that was beautiful. And that is from the book of Ruth. I don't know exactly which verses, but I bet most people have heard that. And a lot of have heard that at wedding ceremonies.
Oh yeah, a lot of weddings.
To do with husbands and wives did it. It was she was talking to her mother-in-law. I feel like she was obedient. She did whatever Naomi wanted her to do, even though Naomi she was not happy. She said when she went back and she got back to Bethlehem, she says, don't call me Naomi, call me Mara, because Mara means bitter. And she said, I am bitter. I've lost everything. I've lost my husband. I'm a widow. I left full and I'm back empty. So don't call me Naomi. So it's not even a great, fun situation necessarily for Ruth, but she takes on this relationship. And she's bound and determined. She said, the only thing that's going to part us is death. And it's really great how it all works out. One of the questions was, how was she a leader? Well, she ends up being in the lineage of Christ. So I think that's pretty good. That says a lot for her. And she was willing to go. I don't know whether at what point she became a believer in the Almighty Jehovah. I don't know, because when she is what Dana recited, she said, your God will be my God. So at that point, I don't think she had been a believer. Maybe it doesn't sound like it necessarily. At some point, she's devoted, and she was persistent. She did what she needed to do to find a husband and to win Boaz as her husband. What was her leap of faith is one of the questions. Well, leaving her home and going with Naomi to a new land, new people, and a new God. So that would have been a tough thing. I don't know at what age, exactly her age, but she was not older. She was, women in Bible times could get married as young as 13. Yeah. So if she got married at 13 and maybe 10 years later, she'd be in her 20s or whatever. So she's fairly young to be making these great decisions, but she does it. She's bold and confident. She can be an example to all of us. So I guess that's we'll go on to another one, another Bible woman. Dana, who else did you have?
Well, I love Dorcas, or Tabitha, and just the broad stroke of her life is equally amazing and amusing to me, in that she was a servant, wasn't she? And
Yes.
she had a servant heart. And we know that. And we know that she's in Acts 9:36-43. And we know that. Why is that recorded? I think when we're studying, especially women from the Bible, I love the way that God places them in the Bible and gives them honor, because they certainly deserve honor. There are great things that men do, and there are great things that women do. But sometimes, as in Dorcas's case, the great thing she does is make clothes. And I think that's so beautiful. My mother sewed. My mother sewed all of my clothes, all of my life, up to the time that was her wedding dress. And then she said, I'm done. But she enjoyed it. And that was something that she could excel at. And that's obviously what Dorcas did, because all the women loved her so much. And when she died, they just couldn't deal with it. And we're told that they showed the clothes that they had been made by Dorcas for them, and cried and wept over it so much that Peter uses his power to bring her back to life.
And they were widows. She had made clothes for widows, right?
The widows, because they did not have the money for the fabrics or whatever it took. Yeah, she had compassion. She had compassion. But I've always thought, so Dorcas is in glory, and then Peter says, no, you're coming back. And my first thought would have been, truly?
Yeah, I know.
What brought me out of glory to make you some clothes?
Yes.
Couldn't you have done this another way? It's an extreme compliment. I get all that.
Same as Lazarus. All
Yes.
those poor people that got brought back, and the widow of Nain's son as well, and Jairus's daughter. All of those people,
I know.
they had already gone through the hard work of dying, and now they're brought back, and so they're going to have to die again.
Yeah,
one day.
Die again, and I think that that's that selfish love that we have when we lose a loved one. But I'm reminded of Dorcas, and when my mother passed away, it's like, no, she's where she needs to be. And like Lauren, we were talking the other, I'll go to her. But I think that it shows a lot of passion on Peter. I mean, Peter was an interesting apostle, wasn't he? And that he felt the passion tells us that he had some type of relationship with women, that he understood them. He got them. It wasn't just like, well, what's the matter? You girls just go get, have somebody else. But he felt the passion of these women, so that he was moved to bring Dorcas back to life. And that is such a beautiful story, and a story that, as I teach my young granddaughters, they should aspire to live a life that people actually mourn your passing.
And they have evidence to show. They bring it to the funeral, don't they?
They bring it to the funeral, and they lay out these beautiful clothes, not just like, oh yeah, she was nice and I met her once or twice. This woman had an imprint, didn't she? She had an imprint on their physical life, but on their hearts. So that tells me that as Dorcas was making the clothes for these women, she was loving on them, because it's a very intimate thing to sew for somebody, because you have to take measurements of their body, you're touching their body, you're making it, there's trying on, there's all of those things, there's fabric choices, colors, all of those. Granted, it was very limited to very few fabrics and all of those things, but still it's an intimate thing to make someone clothes. And when somebody makes you clothes of such quality as Dorcas must have done, you prize that person. You feel so much for this for this woman because she's given you such a great gift. And I'm sure they thought that that was a great gift for Peter to bring her back. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. And one of the questions about her is, how did she prioritize service to God? Well, if when you study about life in Bible times and the clothing was a big
Yes.
deal. It wasn't like, oh, I tore my blouse, so I'll go down to the store and buy another one. No, it was not that way. You had to go get the wool off the sheep.
Right.
And then you would, and their clothes were probably made from a wool.
Well, if it wasn't, go ahead.
You had to make you had to process all the wool. Then you had to spin the cloth, and
Right.
then it wasn't like you went down to the store and bought, picked out the cloth you wanted. No, you had to do all this stuff, and then make the clothing. And it was all done by hand. And so that's when people in the Bible, when it says somebody was upset and they tore their clothes, that's a big deal. That would be like me taking my best china or
Right.
and throwing it against the wall, or ramming my car into a brick wall because I was so upset.
Yeah.
Clothes were a huge deal. Most people had only the clothes on their backs. And if you were a widow, I'm going to say, they were at the bottom of the economic totem pole. So they might have actually been almost like naked without Dorcas.
Yeah, I feel so too. And if clothes weren't such a big deal, why did they cast lot for Jesus's clothes? That was something. It's like, hey, here's some clothes. Free clothes. Who's going to get this? So yeah, I agree. We belittle because there's not a store on the corner that doesn't sell something of clothing. I mean, you can go 3 minutes, and if not, pick up your phone and you can order something on Amazon. Clothes are replaceable.
Mm-hmm. And, it says, how did she serve her husband or family or her community? Obviously, she was working to make clothes for people. And, well, why didn't she just sell them to them? Well, because they probably didn't have much money and they needed clothing. So that's a way that she served her community, widows, people that really, really needed it. Well, what's a lesson that we can learn from her, Dana?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway I take from Dorcas is it doesn't have to be something magnanimous. It doesn't have to be something huge. It doesn't have to be something newsworthy. It can be done in a very quiet spirit in her own home, just one by one, taking care of a sister. And that is so powerful, because if we all have that attitude of one by one taking care of our sisters in Christ, brothers in Christ, the children, that's the power that God has shown us. You're my people. You take care of the children, you take care of each other, and don't worry about the big place. That's for the kings and all those guys. They're doing that. I don't want to get into war. Just give me a needle and thread and we'll make some clothes.
Yeah.
And that there's honor in that.
There is.
Because if there wasn't honor, she wouldn't be in the Bible, would she?
Yeah, and the result was, let me look here. The result of all this was when she was raised from the dead. Verse 42 says, and it became known throughout all Joppa, and many did what? Believed on the Lord.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the thing.
Yes.
That's the reason. That's why
Peter brought her back to life. Yeah. Yeah. Because that's the other thing. In that time, it was they thought only noble people deserved this second chance, if you will. And that should go to somebody who's wealthy or has done bigger things or built whatever. And Peter goes, no, this is it. We're going to show through the simple. Just as Jesus says, bring the children to me. You've got to be like a child to get to heaven. You've got to be that same. Certainly there was no attitude with Dorcas. She wasn't a prima donna.
No.
She was there to serve. And
a disciple. And she was a disciple.
She was a disciple too.
Yeah. Let me move on to, I wanted to talk about the Samaritan woman, also known as the woman at the well, and this is from John 4. This story is, I love this. This is one that I teach regularly in the kids' Bible class. What a great story of, I mean, this particular exchange. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's a little longer than I can take time to read. However, it's a great one for you in the audience to read John 4 and really think about this. It is, to me, the best example of what personal work is like in the 21st century in America. A lot of the cases in the New Testament, they said, "Oh, come follow me," and then they just did. But this is different, that's my experience has been that they don't just come, you got to talk to them. You got to figure out a way to start up a conversation. And that's just what Jesus did. He comes to the well, his disciples go into town, and they're looking, they're going to get some food. They're traveling, they're going through Samaria, which I understand a lot of Jews wouldn't even go through there. They would go around it. Because the Samaritans were seen as half-breeds and not really for the Jews to mix with. But Jesus and his apostles go through there. The apostles go into town to get food for them to eat. Jesus stops at the well, and he's wanting a drink. And at the end of the story, nobody got either, really. Jesus never got his drink, and there's no more mention of food. But it is a great example of Jesus as a personal worker. He's sitting there. A woman comes to the well, and he says, can you give me a drink? And he just starts up this conversation. He doesn't start it by saying, "Hey, do you know Jehovah God?" Or he doesn't start with drink. And the woman starts. She talks to him, and he says, I've got living water. And she's like, "What is that? Like, what?" And he said, "Yeah, and I can get it, because then I won't have to carry this big pot down here all the time." Because that was the women's job, was to come take a big pot, and they would set it on their heads and carry it down there and fill it with water. So she's like, "Yeah, I want to know about this living water." Jesus goes on to describe to her various things. She's got questions about, it's like people I've talked to before where they're like, "Okay, well, tell me, I want to know this." They got this one thing that they want to know about religion. She wanted to know, was it about she mentions the temple. She says, we worship, the Samaritans worship on, what's the town? What's the hill? The mountain starts with a G. Can't remember. Anyway, she says, we worship here. And Jesus says, the time is coming where it doesn't matter where you worship. And that's an important principle for all of us. It doesn't matter if you're out in a brush arbor, or you're in your car, or wherever. It doesn't matter where anymore. We're not in a temple or a tabernacle anymore. And so Jesus goes on, and he says, I am the Christ. And when she hears this news, she just can't keep quiet. She runs into town, and she tells the men all about it. And then Jesus, she said, I think I've seen the Christ. Yeah. He's right. He's out here. Yeah. And, who knows, they might have at first thought, boy, I don't know. She might be a little nuts. But they realized it was Jesus. And he stayed there, and he taught them. What a huge thing. This is another occasion where a woman is given some big news.
Big news. And she's the first one to get the big news, too. That's what's really pivotal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And all, lo and behold, all these people say, well, bring him on. We want to meet him. And it works. Think of Elizabeth. Elizabeth is told she's going to have a son, John. Mary is told that she's going to bear the baby Jesus. And God often gives the big news to the nobodies of this world.
He does. I know. I find that fascinating.
This world. Even the shepherds, they got the news that the baby had been born. They were the ones, and they were pretty lowly people. So I love this. the question, how was she persistent? I mean, she kept asking questions, and then Jesus was telling her these things that, boy, she didn't know how it was creeping her out. He knew these things,
Right.
but she was curious and she was persistent in her questions. And then she didn't go, okay, well, thank you, bye. No, she ran into town. She left her water pot. She didn't get her water.
Right.
Jesus didn't get his drink. And the apostles come back and they're clueless. Really, it's a fun story and almost a humorous story. Do you have anything to say about the woman at the well, Dana?
Well, I've always loved this story, but recently I've started doing a deeper dive just personally on it. And I was teaching a class, and I was talking about the first teachers, and I included her as one of the first teachers. And somebody challenged me, and they said, the woman at the well. And I said, it says she went back into the town and she started telling everybody else about him. So that's teaching. And I think that we forget that teaching can come from interesting sources, because, Jesus said, I know you've had many husbands and you're now with a man that's, not legally yours. So we wouldn't think that a person like that could teach, right? But she was. And it's interesting that Jesus sought her, and that's why he stayed back. He knew she was coming, because she had to come at a different time of day too. She couldn't be with the other women, and it usually had to be like in the heat of the day. She couldn't be.
Okay. I didn't think of that. Okay.
Yeah. So she knows. So Jesus goes, okay, there's going to be, of course he knew who it was, but it just totally eluded the apostles. They're just like, okay, well, we're going to go into town. I don't know why he wants to stay back, but he wanted to go stay so he could teach her. He knew she needed that living water that he talked about so exquisitely. I'm like you. If I was carrying a heavy pot, man, you got a better deal.
Yes,
for it. Let's do this. So
maybe he also knew about her influence with people.
Yes,
he knew she wouldn't be able to keep her mouth closed.
Right. She was a great, as we call it in 21st century, she was a good connector. She knew a lot of people, probably through all of these men. she had a good base there to go from. And she was influential in some way that she could bring them to hear Jesus. And I just think it's such a beautiful story.
It is beautiful. And it's really good when you're thinking about working with people, come up with an angle, a way to get the conversation started. Right. It doesn't have to you don't have to break in talking about the Bible. You can talk about other things. So it's a great study if you want to beef up your personal work.
And the best way to open up a conversation is not with shoving it down their throat. I'm here to tell you about Jesus, but you go around it. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So the apostles at the grocery store or the woman at the well, either one you want to call that story.
Yeah.
So you had one more. Let's see who you had. You had Abigail that you wanted to talk about, and we'll start trying to wrap it up. But got plenty of time to cover Abigail, one of my favorites too.
Oh, just she's in 1 Samuel 25, and we won't read the whole chapter, but for those who are listening, go back and read it, because it's such a powerful, powerful story about a woman who seizes the moment.
Dana, let's stop just a second. Isla, I don't know if you can get that up there, but if possible, what verses are you reading?
I'm not reading. I'm just saying that.
Okay.
Her story is in 1 Samuel 25.
That's fine.
Because there's so many that I would encapsulate in that. But we know that she's married to Nabal, and he's not a very bright man, but it doesn't matter, because the situation is escalating where David wants to have his sheep. Nabal doesn't want him there. And, David has a short fuse, so does Nabal. And she can sum up a situation really quick. And not only that, but she can act on it really quick. And she knows her boundaries as a wife, and she knows what she can and can't do, but she doesn't let that stop her. Because some women here in the 21st century, I think actually all through time, women have been frozen with fear, or what they call in the business world, paralysis of analysis. You know, you can analyze the situation. Well, if I do that, but we got no time here. You know, the servants are telling him, hey, you know, he's coming. So I think that Abigail, what I love most about her is what she does. She packs up food. Man, get those donkeys. Let's get some food. We got some angry men. The only way
that's the right thing for angry men is hungry and angry. They're hangry, and she's hangry. What to do.
Yeah. Let's feed these men, and let's let them see us come from afar. That, you know, we're coming in peace. We're bringing you food. We've got all of this. And I think that it's very interesting that all the servants did. Yes, that's what we got to do. They didn't fight and say, well, we've got to ask Nabal, or, you know, there was something about Abigail and the way she worked with her staff, if you will, and we can translate that to 21st century too.
Absolutely.
That there was something inside of her that made, she was a born leader, that the servants were like, okay, because they knew it too. If David comes in here, he's going to kill us. You know, this is our life. And they don't got a plan, like they say, you know, you got a plan, I don't got a plan. Okay, first off, we're going to
something better.
This is what we're going to do. And so they go out there, and she gets down off that horse, that donkey, whatever she's riding, and she bows. I mean, she prostrates herself. So she humbles herself. She absolutely humbles herself. And I think that is the key in most negotiations of anything that you do. You can't come in with a prideful attitude. You've got to humble yourself. And that is just jarring to David. Like, wait, your husband is not like this. What's going on? And he's impressed. You can tell. He's
humble attitude, and bring food too. I think that always helps in negotiation.
Yes, always does. And you know, and David loved the women, didn't he? We know that. Mm-hmm. And I think men who love women are very intrigued with strong women, because strong women, David was a smart man, and they like to be challenged. And if you have a woman who's coming to you and with no supplies, no food, anything, and crying and don't kill me, you know, it's like, I don't think that David would have been impressed at all with that. But he's like, okay, here's a woman. She can get it together on the dime, as they say. And she's got all of this loaded up. She's got all of her servants. And not only that, but she prostrates herself to say, you know, please take. And he does. And she is saved. Her whole household is saved. Nabal, a different story. But we know that Abigail, he takes as his wife after Nabal's gone. And she's protected and taken care by a man who she respects too. I mean, he respects her, she respects him. And I think that that is such a wonderful lesson for our young girls to see about how you need to be. And there are times when you're going to have to quickly act and react. And you've got to start playing scenarios in your mind. Okay, if this happened, which, you know, Nabal, they were rich. I'm sure, you know, they didn't have, the ring on the door if somebody breaks in to steal from them. But there must have been some type of plan of attack if somebody was going to come after them. Mm. And I think that most times that was shut the doors, shut the gates, everybody, you know, gun up, whatever it is, whatever armor or whatever. And she did the opposite. She opened her gates and she went out and met him where he was at. That's another symbol of being vulnerable, and I'm ready to negotiate, and please, you know, let cooler heads prevail. She's just a fascinating woman. I just love her. Can't wait to see happen one day.
She was one of his better choices for among all the women he married.
Yeah. She was.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I always think that's what a great thing to name. I know several girls named Abigail. I think that's a pretty good one. That's a good one.
Yeah,
name your daughter after. Well, I guess we'll wrap up. And so we looked at Abigail, Anna, Dorcas, Ruth, and the woman at the well. What great examples for all of us.
Beautiful.
Let's think about how we can be like them and glean things from the stories about these women. And we'll see you next time on Older Women Likewise.
Yes.
Good night.
Bye, ladies.